an entitled sister burns bridges, then harasses OP to maintain her and her unborn baby. Note: super sensitive stuff starts from update 5, so that's a heads up for you guys. Using a throwaway account since she knows my personal Reddit. But oh boy, this is a long one. So I, 27F, moved to the US almost 7 years ago. I have 2 half-sisters from my father's side, all from different women. We used to be very close, and despite both of them being illegitimate, I shared with them part of the little inheritance I got from my grandparents. They never recognized them and left them nothing. 2 years ago, my sisters also moved to the US. The middle sister, 28, let's call her Mary, got a company to host her with a work visa. The eldest, 30, Karen, not her real name, got a student visa and moved in with me since I was already working and earning a good salary. The arrangement was that I would pay bills. She would get a job at the university since she's not allowed to work outside, and that was her spending money. I would cover all bills and food. The only thing I asked for was help with some minor chores. I have a dog and a cat, and I told her she had no responsibility while she had school and work. It was fine since I work from home, and I have a step family that helped me maintain my home, mostly because I'm the free babysitter for them. Pretty sweet deal for a student, right? Well, apparently, that wasn't enough. While she was in school, Karen met Ken. I knew Ken from the time I went to university. He's a creep, but I thought he was harmless. Karen was head over heels for him. I warned her Ken had a bad reputation at the university, but she didn't care. She's a big girl, so I let it be, with the only condition that Ken was not allowed in my place. COVID hit, and my hours were cut. Karen's school goes on pause, and she loses her campus job. Because of all of this, we moved into a small apartment. I took a second job and did some freelance work on the side. Needless to say, I had no personal life. I am dating someone, but he was also swamped with work and bills, so we barely met each other. During this time, Karen and Ken apparently got closer, and he began to appear in the apartment. Karen was not part of my lease, but my landlord was very understanding. Ken began making really inappropriate comments about me. I am not a beauty queen. I just look a bit exotic, as Ken put it. I'm mixed race from the Caribbean, so I have a bit of everything, and somehow it all shows. Karen looks more like our father. He was of European descent. In all honesty, Karen is more attractive. I only look foreign in this little intermountain region city. Ken would go out of his way to touch me, and he was just invasive. I managed to just keep him in my room when he was around, or use the excuse that my pets needed a walk. I didn't know exactly why, but Karen kept pushing for me to spend time on my own with Ken. It will be good for you to bond with your future brother-in-law. They had only been dating for 7 months at this point. Whatever, I didn't care. I found excuses to avoid it. November 2020, I got a better position at my main career job, so I was able to quit my second job and have more me time. I reconnected with friends, and one of them asked me if I was okay. I asked why, and he told me Ken had been saying he was very close to getting me personal time. I was not okay with that idea, and I very loudly said I would rather be hit by a train than do anything with Ken. Since I'm in a small city in the Intermountain region, where most people in the same area know each other, a lot of people had text messages or creepy stories to tell me. That was it for me. I went home and demanded an explanation. They didn't deny it. Ken even said Karen had said it was fine, and I was doing them as well as her sister, since he had a fantasy he wanted to go for. I told them both they were disgusting, and that Ken had to leave or I would be calling the cops. Ken left with some insults sent my way, and Karen began telling me she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We were not. I told her I was not for her to sell around like property, and that she had 2 weeks to find a place of her own. I was done with her. I called all my relatives and sent them copies of the text messages I was given. But no one in our family wanted anything to do with Karen. She moved in with Ken a few days later. It took me some effort, but I was able to get a restraining order for Ken. I couldn't get one for Karen. Still, they disappeared from my radar, except for a few encounters, which were easily solved by showing I was about to call 911. And then today happened, and I had to hold back my laughter. Mary had kept tabs on Karen, since sisters and all, and she messaged me with a notice. Hey, Karen just called me. She's pregnant, and Ken kicked her out. I just stared for a few minutes and responded, oh, that's sad. Mary knew, and supports, that I don't care or have any intentions to help. Karen used Mary's phone to call me. She begged me to help, since Mary is only letting her stay for a week before she moves to another state. She said that she missed her little sister and had no one else to go to. She knows I have family health insurance. I pay for private health insurance for 2 relatives that are in hard times and have health conditions, and that I could do something like that for her pregnancy medical bills. This baby is a blessing, and I should want to help her raise it, meaning I pay for everything. I let her pour her heart out for a good 5 to 7 minutes, then said nope. I ended the call. She tried calling again for a while, then stopped when I got a text message from Mary saying she had left her phone on the counter and she was sorry for the spam. Most of my family agrees with me, even Karen's mom. The only one who disapproves is Karen's aunt. She's not my aunt, but I called her aunt anyway since I've known her for many years. She's been putting pressure on me most of the day. She only stopped when I gave her one more message, and I would show her text messages to my stepfather, who is her landlord. I feel bad for the baby to a point. But this is one of those moments where all I can think is that this is not my circus, and these are not my monkeys. Edit 1. Someone mentioned the region inconsistency. I never looked into it since I didn't really care, but where I live, I hear Midwest and Northwest interchangeably. As far as I was concerned, it was the same thing. We don't have that type of region in my country. So I decided to Google while at work and found out neither is right. I live in the Intermountain region. Thanks, random stranger, for making me check on the messy regional system. Not even Google agrees on it. Also, a small explanation of my grandparents. They were very old traditionalists. By the end of their lives, they didn't have much to give, so they chose to give it to the legal grandchildren. My sperm donor father had many children. I might not even know all of them. Grandparents were just tired of every other year having a new grandchild appear, and in some cases, a moocher mother attached. Last is Karen's visa. She had an extension since COVID, but that is over. She's overstaying her visa. This is very common. I have relatives who do it. I don't agree, but I also had one foot in since my stepfather is American. First update. I wasn't planning to make an update so quick, or at all, but here it is. In short summary, I have two half-sisters, Mary and Karen. Karen used to live with me rent-free and decided to offer me up to her creepy boyfriend like a side dish. I kicked her out, and she went to live with him. She got pregnant, he threw her to the curb, and now she wants me to take care of her and her unborn baby. Now to today. Mary called me this morning to have brunch and discuss things related to Karen. She told me she understood. I didn't want to be part of the mix, but she really wanted it to be discussed, and after that, I could just walk out. I know Mary, and I know she's just trying to leave everything in order before she leaves the state. She's the peacekeeper for my siblings. I agreed on the condition that there was no way Karen would come home with me. Mary just said, if she tries to follow you, I'll drag her out myself. So I dressed up, and off I went to brunch with my sisters. I'll skip the pleasantries and dumb friendly family look Karen attempted. Once we were done eating, and just having coffee, Mary set all the cards on the table. She explained she couldn't take Karen with her out of state, because she's getting married to her longtime girlfriend, and they can only afford one bedroom in her new city. She also said Karen was insane if she thought Mary would allow her to live with me, even if she had the power to make me take Karen back in. Karen was lucky. She even let her stay with her for these last few days. She told her the only reason we were doing this was because her mother had begged her to at least put Karen somewhere safe or find a solution for the pregnancy. So, she turned to me and asked me, as the most stable economist, if there was anything I would be willing to help with. I might be an arsey hole for this. Feel free to roast me. But I basically said, I would only give money for 3 things. A termination and a hotel room while she heals from it. 2. A ticket back to her home country so she can live with her mother or aunt and get free health care. 3. A ticket to our eldest brother's home country so she can live with him because I know he will take her. I also said she had the option to put the baby up for adoption, but I would not be offering her a place to stay or a way to get medical care out of my pocket. I gave her some links to nonprofits she could use. Karen started crying, saying I was trying to take away her baby and being a bad sister. A good sister would open up her home and help care for her baby. I never deserved to have the money I have. Most of my money is from inheritance on my mother's side of the family, so I'm not sure how she would have gotten anything. I was spoiled by my mother because she had money. We did, because after our father left my mother and me with nothing, she made a company from scratch. She kept babbling and making a scene. Then she said something that actually hurt me. You are just mad because you will never get pregnant. Yes, I happen to be infertile. No, I can't get treatment for it. It is what it is. I already accepted it, but it still hurts. Mary knew this was a low blow for me and basically told Karen one more stupid word like that, and she'll be sleeping in the street tonight. I didn't cry or anything, I just stared. Karen stopped her crying and muttering and seemed to get an idea. She looked at me straight and told me to adopt her baby. I laughed at that. I told her she was insane if she thought I would adopt her baby. I don't want her in my life, let alone her ex. I don't blame the baby, but I have absolutely no intentions to be part of the child's life. I was about to go off on Karen just for thinking I would consider that as an option, but Mary stopped me on time. She simply said to Karen, "You have the options she gave you. Hers are mine. You can get a termination, or you can go back to your home country. Either way, you can't stay here. You are not legal, and your immigration status would affect us if you were to live with us. I could lose my job, and OP could lose her resident status. You have until next Friday to choose. If none of these options work, you will have to find your own solution without us. I don't want you anywhere near my little sister. You put her at risk of being assaulted or worse. You are lucky. I have an empty room for 1 more week for you to crash in. But after that, I don't want to see you in person. We can keep in touch via Facebook or phone. You've lost the right to spend time in person with either of us." I just stared at Mary. She's very quiet, and normally the most reserved of us, so this was not expected. Mary paid, didn't even wait for the change, and left Karen with enough to get a taxi home. Mary grabbed me by the arm and took me out. I didn't know how much I needed someone to just protect me for a change, but I did cry a little on the way out from just pure relief. I had one older sister that still looked out for me. We decided to go for ice cream like we did as kids when bad things happened, and we discussed our plans to spend holidays and vacations together. Mary's girlfriend also joined us for ice cream, and the whole time she just made jokes about how sad she's going to be without her moving table. She's much taller than me, and it's a running gag with us. Nothing too dramatic, thankfully. Mary and her girlfriend are going to come later for dinner with me. Depending on how this mess ends, I'll try to update. But at this point, I think it's pretty much done. I am not sure if Karen will take any of the options we gave her, or just do her own thing. Regardless, I have no intentions of putting my money toward anything but what I said I would. And yes, Mary is my hero, if anyone is curious. Small edit 1. I got asked this in a chat, and wanted to clear it up. Karen is not penniless. I gave her $10,000 at the start of the year, when our grandmother passed away. That was her part of the $30,000 I was given. She's also been saving money from her college job. I worked at the university about 4 years ago, and I was getting $9 an hour. Her mom also sent her money. Unless she wastes all her funds, she won't go home without money. If that were the case, my brothers Mary and I would all give her something. She might be on my blacklist, but she is my sister at the end of the day. Second update. Well, as the title says, my older half-sister Karen has made a choice. The short version of the events leading to this is that Karen was living rent-free with me when she started dating a creepy guy. Her boyfriend wants to follow through on a fantasy that involved my sister and me in a very disgusting activity together, and Karen was all up for it and volunteered me without my knowledge. I kicked her out, she moved with him and got pregnant, and he kicked her out. She wanted me to not only take her in, but also basically maintain her and her baby. My sister and I gave her the options and told her she would not live with either of us long term. As I mentioned in my last post, my sister Mary and I gave Karen a couple of options for her unplanned pregnancy. The options were a termination of her pregnancy, a ticket back to our home country, or to our brother's home country, or she could figure out a way to keep her child, or put the baby up for adoption. She had until tomorrow to choose, since Mary leaves on Saturday for the East Coast. Well, Karen chose none of the above. She decided to make life so difficult. She is now arrested and, more than likely, will be deported. Let me explain what happened. Tuesday, Mary decided to leave for a nearby national park to enjoy it one last time before she moved too far to drive there. She left Karen with a key and some money. Big mistake. Mary and her girlfriend returned yesterday and found out all the locks in their house had been changed. To make it even worse, Ken, Karen's supposed ex, had moved into their house. I know Mary should have seen this coming, but they grew up as best friends. They used to be closer to each other than to anyone else, myself included. Obviously, police were called, and it was just a major mess. Karen and Ken claimed it was their house, but Mary and her girlfriend kept telling them no, it was not. It's not even Mary's house anymore. It was sold, and the new family that owns it arrives on Sunday. The realtor was going to give them the key. The police officers were so done with this mess before it even escalated that they asked everyone for their IDs. Ken, Mary, and Mary's girlfriend all had their IDs. Karen only had an expired passport. Karen got arrested on immigration charges. Ken got arrested on charges relating to breaking and entering, and some others I don't know for sure. I got this secondhand from Mary, while she was basically about to commit a murder felony, had it not been for the officers present. Today, I got a call about my sister. Her lawyer said she was claiming to be my surrogate, and that the baby in her was actually my child. Yep, she tried this. I told the lawyer that I was not looking for a surrogate or adopting a child I am already fostering and have no space, and that my sister got pregnant by accident with Ken. He asked if I would be willing to foster her baby, since the child would technically be American. I said, absolutely not. He tried to work things out with me, explaining that my sister would most likely be deported otherwise. I just told him that if that's the law, then that's how it will be. I asked him to please not contact me about her anymore. As far as I am concerned, the only family she has is in our home country. Aside from the scare and new locks, Mary is okay. The realtor has copies of the new keys for the family that owns the house. And now my sister and I are planning to have no contact with Karen. I don't know what exactly will happen to Karen. Nor do I care anymore. Now not even my aunt in my home country wants anything to do with Karen, and she even apologized to Mary and me. As for Ken, well, who knows? I hope he goes to jail, but if he doesn't, I couldn't care less. I now feel like a massive boulder is off my shoulders and can just focus on work and teaching my foster daughter about Star Wars. We have already watched all of the trilogy, and we have a Clone Wars marathon planned for the weekend. I want to thank everyone who sends me well wishes for my sister Mary and me. Also to the people that share advice that I am so glad I took to heart. This has been probably the worst roller coaster family mess I've dealt with since my parents' divorce, and it came absolutely from the one person I suspected less. I can't say I have any entitled stories aside from this. Karen was once actually a very good sister, but I guess when money and comfort are involved, people change. A small update that isn't worth a new post. Karen was offered to leave the US willingly, and she will face no negative effects for her status. She called my mom to see if she could convince me to give my sister the money for the ticket. Mary and I agreed to pay the ticket on the condition that she never again contacted either of us. Her mom is aware of this, and basically told me that Karen will have to find a job within the month she arrives, or she'll be in the streets. As for lawyers and stuff, I have my own immigration lawyer aware of the mess, and he told me the only way the surrogate ploy would work would be a DNA match or a contract. None of that is around, so I'm safe. Mary booked Karen for her trip back on Friday, and good riddance. Third update. I almost made it to a month without hearing from my half-sister. But okay, Reddit, you were right. This might never be over. Also, funny enough, dear sis found my post and sent me a scathing email before I blocked her. But that's really not a big story. This one, however, pisses me off. So, as I posted before, my older half-sister Karen was forcefully, but not really, removed by immigration after going insane and trying to get squatter rights on a house that used to belong to my other half-sister Mary. And she was escorted out, so I know she left. Things were calm for a bit, and in the meantime, I focused on my 4-year-old foster daughter. Let's call her Lily. Lily's mom is one of my oldest friends. She gave birth in the US, but Lily's father is not American and unfortunately passed away when Lily was a baby. My friend was asked to leave the US to do her immigration process outside the country since she has no one to claim her aside from a minor child. This sadly means she probably won't be able to come into the US until Lily is 18. Because our home country's education system is really bad, she asked me if I could take Lily. By this point, I had already kicked Karen out, so I had an extra room. I told her it was okay if it was in Lily's best interest. Lily and I are tight as thieves, and she's always seen me as her crazy, fun aunt. It took a bit, but 3 weeks ago Lily's guardianship was passed from the state to me, just in time for Halloween too. We are skipping trick or treating this year due to the pandemic, but Lily still wanted to dress up as a Sith. I am so proud of this child, I swear. My mom was incredibly happy to have a foster grandkid, especially since Lily actually doesn't have any other grandparents, so she sent her some fairly fancy Star Wars props. Obviously, we got her dressed up in her Sith outfit and had a mini photo session for Grandma. And my mom posted the pictures on Facebook so Lily's mom could see them easily. My family and friends went crazy with how adorable Lily looks. She says she's not adorable, she's Sith. And then Karen struck back. Mom forgot or decided not to block Karen. And when my half-sister saw Lily's picture, she had some of her best hits, such as, "My 4-year-old looks fat. She's ugly and clearly going to grow up to be a slut. She looks like a word I can't say even in writing, but it's the word starting in N. That's just a handful." She got called out and told kindly to return to the darkness. But then she started to call my mother. At every hour. To ask for money, to ask how to contact me, to tell her she was wasting money on a kid that was not really her grandchild, and should give her the money for her kid. Karen is not my mom's daughter. Well, eventually, my mom figured out how to block her, and Karen got to me through a school friend. She must send, not 1, not 2, A 16-page list of demands, or she will sue me. One was getting rid of my foster daughter so I could adopt her baby. Another was an apartment I shared with my cousins, left to us by our maternal grandmother. $500K. My dog and my cat. Oh, and I need to get her back into the US. There's still more, most of it completely delusional. I sent a copy to my lawyer to try to obtain a no-contact order in the US. I can't do anything in my home country, but I did forward another copy to our relatives, including our eldest brother. He said he'd take care. For the record, I am not taking Karen's kid in, even if I didn't have Lily. Her ex was recently released and has already caused problems for other people. Luckily, he's keeping away from me. And to clear something up, Karen isn't penniless. I divided with her and marry a $150,000 inheritance in equal parts. She also got money from her stepfather when he passed away. In our home country, she's actually well off. The only reason I never charged rent or asked her for money was because I knew the tuition price was going to be very high and didn't want her to have to take a loan like I did for a time. Fourth update. At this point, I'm just posting to vent. But god damn it, now my kid is the one getting problems, and I am one step away from saying F it and just quitting my job and leaving the state. So, as people who've read my previous posts about my sister and her creepy boyfriend know, Ken named as such since it's a close match to his real name. And no, it's not Ben is a creep who has tried to get both my sister and me for party time. I absolutely refuse to even be in the same room as that slime for more than a minute. But even with a no-contact order, it doesn't seem to hit. After being arrested and released, not sure how he got away with the SHT he did to my other sister, Mary, Ken had all but disappeared. My foster daughter, Lily, has become my full focus as I work to get her settled. I've even been looking into moving from my current apartment to a small house with a yard for her, and Lily is involved in the search by giving her opinions. She's also going to kindergarten, of course, and is doing really well. There are still some adjustments to all the changes, and she misses her birth mom. But we already have plans to visit her during spring break, when I can get time off too. Today, I asked a mom, Tina, from kindergarten, if they would be able to bring Lily over. She was okay with it, and I gave her, as a thank you, some money so she and the kids could have some McDonald's on the way back. She called me in a panic around the pickup time. Apparently, the teachers noticed a man trying to talk to Lily, but their security scared him off. Obviously, the original plan went out the window, and I left work early to go to school. Lily told her teacher and I that the man said he was a good friend of mine and had something for me. He asked her if she would like a ride home with him so he could surprise me. Thankfully, Lily was more interested in a Happy Meal and said no. The teacher and I were horrified, and the school cameras were immediately checked. They brought me a picture. Even though it was of low quality, I am very sure it was Ken based on the picture and Lily's description. The school promised me they would reach the police and give them the security cameras video, and I also went to make a report on the incident. Since I wasn't there and Lily didn't get a name, they took it as a John Doe event until after they investigated. I am just terrified. With Karen gone, I thought Ken would leave me alone, but now he's targeting my 4-year-old. I am just terrified thinking about all the horrible outcomes if my child had not been more interested in fast food than in whatever Ken was offering. I set a rule with the school that only myself, my boyfriend's mother, or Tina and her husband, who I trust, can take Lily out of the school. Lily is now scared since she picked up on my own panic. We had a good talk about strangers and bad people and why she should never go with someone she doesn't know anywhere. I'm getting Lily a cell phone tomorrow at first light, and she's staying home at least until Monday. I don't know. Stress is underrated, and now I need to figure out either a safer place to live in this area with my job and my boyfriend, or if it's better for me to move to Florida with my parents. Which I really don't want to do as it means a long-distance relationship, or breaking up with my partner of 6 years, and quitting a really good job. Edit 1. Something to add is that I can't just pack bags and move out of state on short notice. I'm still finishing the process of becoming Lily's full legal guardian and adoptive mom. Her birth mom's idea, and we already talked with Lily about what that means. It's very difficult to move with a foster child, as you have to get permission from the state to qualify to foster in your new state. And in the meantime, your foster child might be taken away. I won't put Lily through that. If all goes well, I'll have guardianship by February 2022. Update. Side story. Entitled Father. I posted about my sister's entitlement, and I had messages asking about my sperm donor. I didn't plan to speak of him, but today I got drama related to him, and I guess I need to get it out of my chest. My father was the kind of man to find a woman, build a family, and leave within a span of 10 years. My mom was his longest relationship, but it was mostly because she waited to have children. I know of 3 wives. I heard a rumor there's more, but most I can confirm are mistresses. In total, I have 9 half-brothers and 2 half-sisters that I know of. This also spans 5 countries, with them being Argentina, Brazil, Haiti, Panama, and Colombia. I won't say which is mine since some relatives have read it. Now, some examples of Dear Papa's entitlement are: he married my mom when she was 21, and he was 37. He didn't let her finish school because it was better if she only focused on the house and children. Mom had to secretly take the pill since she didn't feel ready for a baby. They had me 7 years later, when mom was 28. My mom had PPD and PPA, and rather than stay, the bio-donor left to stay with a mistress whom he had impregnated a year earlier with my best half-sister. He returned only after I was about 3 years old. I want to point out that my sister's mom had no idea my mom or I existed. Bio-donor stayed then until I was 12. Then he left my mom for a woman who was 18 on the dot. She's the mother of my baby half-brother. After my parents' divorce, my bio-donor left my mom with $38,000 in debt. That's the cost of a 6-bedroom house in my home country to this date. Mom had to sell the house we lived in, which only covered a part of it. She took a job in another country, and my eldest half-brother became my legal guardian. It took my mom 2 years before she came back and made her company, paid the debt, and I was able to move back with her. By this point, my mom knew 4 of my father's mistresses. My mom's company turned out to be very profitable, and suddenly Pops decided to claim spousal support. He had only paid $50 in child support in 4 years. I was 16 by then. He also called my sisters and me to demand that we drop out of school so we could work and send him the money for his baby son. And I can still quote to this day, "You go to a fancy school, get pregnant with a rich boy's baby, and he will maintain all of us." When I was 18, I didn't immediately go to college. My mom needed help with the company, so I decided to postpone it for a year. I started working for her and took another job in a museum as a translator. I was not making that much money, about $5 an hour. My sperm donor sent me a bill for a grand total of $230K of life expenses. My mom remarried when I was 20. My stepdad is amazing, and he is the father I never had. Stepdad is American and suggested that all of us move together to the States. My mom left her company to my uncle, and he still manages it. Stepdad sold his old apartment, and they kept my mom's house to be rented to relatives. Sperm donors contacted my mom after 2 years of radio silence to demand money from my stepdad's apartment sale. He said he would sue, and while he didn't have a leg to stand on, stepdad gave him $20,000 to shut him up. He then told my mom he wanted my college fund for his youngest son because I was a female, and there was no point in me going to college. Mom told him off. I lost contact with him. He tried to reconnect multiple times, but I never gave it a chance. He died in 2020 from presumed self-harm. I don't know the details, and to be sincere, I never really cared. This morning I got an email from a man in my home country demanding I pay him some debt my bio-father had to him. He told me that my biological father had said I would pay all his debts if he were to die. That he had a signature from me on a contract from 2018. I laughed and told him I have been in the US for 7 years and have not been to my home country since I left. I asked for the name in the contract. It was a very close approximation to my name, but not correct. Even the ID our social is given, our social security number comparative, was wrong by a few digits. I didn't give him my ID, just told him he had the wrong information. He was fuming and asked me how he was going to get his cootie. I told him he can try a Ouija board. Just to be safe, I called my uncle so he could have a lawyer ready in case of an emergency. This is, well, just a handful of examples of my late biological father. May he rest knowing all his children, ex-wives, and ex-mistresses didn't even care to go to his funeral. Update 5. Entitled Stalker claims I am his wife and the owner of my computer. Well, the pettiness is never ending. As I have posted far too many times, I need to write a book. My sister's ex-boyfriend and baby daddy, Ken, is currently stalking me. He's even gone as far as to try to harass my foster daughter in her kindergarten. He's been doing the classics, like following me around at a distance, calling me with random numbers, and even trying to come inside my place once. I was not there. I decided to stay elsewhere for safety until I finally moved completely out of the state. Regardless, for the most part, nothing as serious as him approaching my kid has happened until the craziness of this morning. I decided to buy a new PC for my partner as a Christmas present. We love video games, but the computer he has is a bit old. So I decided to surprise him and buy a really nice desktop with an NVIDIA 3080. This thing was pricey, but he's been my rock through all the mess with my sister, and he's even the reason I'll be able to adopt my foster daughter. I set up the PC for pickup at the Blue Tech Emporium. Well, wouldn't you know, I wasn't even done with my coffee when I got a call from customer service, saying there was a man there claiming to be my husband and screaming at their pickup person since they wouldn't give them my order. I obviously told them I was not married, and that I would be picking it up in person later after work. They asked me to go there to solve this, since they would check IDs to compare. Now, a little detail that Ken didn't know is that I changed my name less than a year ago to remove my biological father's name. I had planned this for years, but waited until my grandparents and my paternal aunt had passed away. I knew it would break their hearts if I did it when they were alive. My name now is that of my stepfather and my mom. When I got there, he was screaming at a poor rep, waving an ID, saying that the names matched. After explaining the situation to store security, he accompanied me to speak with the manager. I used to work in that store long ago, so I was fairly on good terms with that manager. He actually knew my old name, but since it didn't match in their system, it didn't matter. Ken began yelling at me, calling me every insult possible. He even tried to throw a tape dispenser, but the guys at the counter took it before he could reach for it. I tried to not even engage with him. The only thing I said directly was for him to let me speak when he wouldn't stop yelling. He kept going, saying creepy things like I owed him that much, and that he was entitled to my stuff since I took his house. I didn't. It wasn't even mine. Eventually, he only left when the guys at the store called the police. They couldn't keep him in the store, even if they wanted to. It was against their policies. I did stay until the police arrived and brought up all the other situations with this man. All the calls I had made about him stalking, even the no contact order. Still, the officer said since he was the father of my sister's baby, this was clearly a domestic matter, and all he recommended was for me to change my contact information and the locks at my home. The store wanted to press charges, but since all he did was cause a scene, all that was done was to have him trespassed from the building for the future. I did get my PC, and the security guard escorted me to my vehicle, so I didn't have another encounter. Just to be safe, my partner and I exchanged cars later in the day when we picked up my daughter, since it seems there's nothing more the police will do. For now, I'm just planning to keep going with my plan. I will be leaving this weekend to celebrate holidays with family that my sister doesn't know personally, and once holidays are over, my daughter's adoption should be close to finalized, so we'll be moving pretty far. To people curious why he had an ID with my old last name in it, my suspicion is that it was a fake ID. My half-siblings and I used to all have our biological father's name, so he would have known it through my sister. Mary, two of my brothers, and I are the only ones who decided to change our names on the line that we want nothing to do with my biological father's legacy, as stupid as it sounds. Update 6. My entitled half-sister induces childbirth 3 months early to get money. Oh boy, I wish this was a weird joke, but no. This happened. I have to warn you ahead. This is not a pretty story. As the saga of my family goes on, I'm happy to report that I have moved to a safer town away from my half-sister's ex. I won't give details, but far enough, and with some changes in my personal life, it will be very hard for that creep to find me or my daughter. On that note, due to the situation we were in, we got lucky enough to get a priority on my foster daughter's adoption. She's now my partner, and I'm a legal child. That's the good news. The bad news is coming from my sister. So, I received an email a bit after New Year's from a relative in my birth country. He told me my sister was in urgent care since she had induced herself to give birth to get money for having a baby with special needs. I can't make this up. Unfortunately, it backfired horribly. I don't know all the details, but the methods she used were very aggressive and damaging. So much so, the baby might not make it. As of right now, the baby boy is alive, but the chances of him making it to the end of January are close to none. I understand some of the things she did were hit her own belly and other violent attacks on herself. She, by some grace only entitled people have, is somewhat okay. Apparently, the sudden birth hasn't done much to her overall health so far. That said, as soon as she's released from the hospital, she is to be arrested and will stand trial. With justice back home, she's bound for prison. Highly religious people don't take this kind of behavior too kindly. The baby, if he survives, will be taken in by the government. They consider my sister far too much of a risk to even grant custody to relatives. Not even distant or partial relatives in other countries have been considered. That's also not counting on the possible lifelong treatments that poor little one is going to need. From what I was told, he has high chances of neurological damage, more than likely will need special care for life, and right now he is so weak that they have to tube feed him since he can't actually drink, not even from a bottle. I want to make something clear, and if I sound curt, it's because I'm very pissed off. I offered her a termination not because I believe in that procedure, but because I didn't want a child to be born to suffer. No child deserves what happened to this baby. Needless to say, My ex-sister has lost not just her parental rights, but also any support or affection the family had. I actually sent a letter to her mother to be delivered to this woman, telling her pretty much, as far as I am concerned, that she has no family, and if she ever messages me, I will block her. Even siblings I don't get along with agree with me. I feel ashamed that filth is even partially related to me. I wish I could put all my thoughts here, but the anger I feel is absolutely making me irrational right now. So for now, all I will focus on is settling in my new home. I wish I had a happy joke to ease things, but there isn't. That woman has ruined so many lives that I can't even imagine where she got it from. Not even our garbage father was this bad. Small edit. I wanted to post this before bed, but it took me a bit to figure out the wording. I really appreciate the well wishes and hopes for the recovery of the child. I do too. The thing is, I don't see him as my nephew, and would rather not get it mixed up. It's not to be callous or mean. I am just trying to avoid getting emotionally attached. We've already been told our family, extended family included, will have no contact if he pulls through. He will be taken to the comparative to foster care and placed with a family in a closed adoption. We aren't even allowed to see him. All news we get are hospital updates out of charity. I did call to check if there were any updates, and other than my sister being finally released from the hospital and straight into a cell, nothing has changed. Little one is still fighting, so hopefully he'll get through, and he'll be given to a family that deserves him. Right now, that monster I'm related to is looking at a 10 to 20 year penalty. 20 is the maximum offered in our birth country. And she'll have to represent herself, as no one will pay for a lawyer, and we don't have access to free lawyers like in the US. And I want to point out that the prisons where I come from are no resort. They are overcrowded, unhealthy, and underfunded. It was worst when I was a kid, but I know for a fact that they are not much better. So I am more than sure that if she's convicted, she is looking forward to spending at least a decade in horrible conditions. And I feel absolutely no empathy for her. Second update. Just wanted to post that unfortunately, the little one didn't make it. He passed away early today. His grandmother was given permission to take care of the funeral, and my siblings and I will be sending her money. We are low-key discussing bringing her to live in the US to live with my mom and her husband, as she is close to my mom and won't have to be alone being judged for what her daughter did. I don't think I can really update more for a while, at least until I know what will happen to that woman, who is now absolutely bound for jail. Update 7. My younger cousin is mad. I refuse to let her move with me. Well, here I am. No updates on the main bane of my existence. That person I'm sadly related to is still going through a legal process I am not involved in. This time, it's about another entitled member of my family, though I'm starting to think that's the majority of them. I 28F now have a younger cousin 23F, who is the princess of the family. I mean it not as an insult. She's quite literally the belle of my maternal family, and even I fall into the category of having never said no to her growing up. Horrible policy, I know. This Christmas, she asked me to pay a lot of money for a Christmas party that involved no one in my family and would not see my adoptive daughter as part of the family. I refused, and my cousin stopped contacting me. She didn't even call for my birthday, which was fine. Well, turn the corner to this weekend. I'm currently settling into a new house. It's nothing fantastical, but it has 5 rooms. 1 for my dedicated office, 1 for my daughter, and 1 for my boyfriend's office. We both work from home and needed the space. There's a nice yard, nothing too big, and we do have an extra room downstairs. It's an add-on, not part of the original house. We're going to turn it into a visit room for our parents, and if necessary, expand it to make it a more permanent space should my boyfriends or my parents come to need to live with us. I decided to show it to my mom, and of course she got excited. She told her brother, my cousin's father, and he went and told my cousin. Now, time zone distance causes me to be a few hours behind most of my relatives. My cousin called me at 5 in the morning, begging me to turn that extra space into a studio apartment for her and her fiancé. I told her that no, that space is for parents, but she is welcome to plan a visit, or we can arrange a summer over or something. I did tell her I don't feel comfortable with her fiancé coming since I haven't met him yet. She got mad and said I am blessed with so much money. She has a lot more than me and can afford to let them live with us. Well, I decided to ask how much she would pay for rent. Well, how dare I ask for rent? Where are my Christian values? I hung up on her and told her she would not be living with me, and she'd be lucky if I sent her a birthday card. Now, thanks to a personal stalker I gained in my old town, I have closed all social media, as has my boyfriend. My other cousin, 19M, actually texted me screenshots of posts his sister made. Apparently, she accused me of promising a life of luxury in the US only to back away because I decided to adopt an illegitimate child. My daughter was not illegitimate. Her birth father died, and her mother had to leave the country, and she was living with a man in sin. Aside from some crazy people from her church, pretty much all her friends are calling her a moocher since she is well known to be more than capable of living without even having to work. My favorite response is from a kid I remember back from when I was a senior in high school, reminding her that she used to brag about how she had more money than Hollywood stars. She doesn't have that much and could live in Dubai. Also a lie. Now apparently my uncle and aunt think it's my fault that my cousin is getting roasted on Facebook. I really don't care as much as I would have had I not had to deal with she who shall not be named. At this point, I just go to my future wedding guest list and cross names off. As far as I see it, there is less money to waste during reception. I am partial to inviting her little brother to live with me since my new town has an amazing university, and I can certainly afford to have him with me for a few years. Maybe even pay for part of his tuition. Update. So, it's been a while since I posted. I've been busy with a lot of changes, and to be sincere, my horrid sister was last on my mind. This isn't a great update, but to shorten a long story, my sister was arrested for causing injuries to her unborn baby. He was born premature, and with severe physical damage. She was fine. Unfortunately, the baby boy didn't make it and died a bit after being born. A few days ago, my uncle called to let me know my sister somehow managed to get all charges dropped, except for a minor charge related to making a fake police report. She accused her mother of stealing her car. My sister has no car. Not the best news, all things considered. But right now, she has no money left save a few $100s she was given by a mutual friend, and no one in our mixed family wants to help her. She even tried contacting my parents. We share a deceased father, not our mothers, to get my new number. Luckily, they refused. That's really my only consolation right now, as like almost my whole life, she has the power to cause immense damage and still get out of it. Regardless, not all news is bad. I did hear that because of her US criminal record, she will not be allowed to apply for a visa for 10 years. So she's stuck in Latin America with no home, actual money, or a job. She's never held a job since we were kids, and she's in her 30s. I wish I had a more satisfactory report on this, but sadly, there's no jail sentence. A small edit. Also, to clarify something, my sister wasn't trying to terminate a pregnancy. She was trying to cause developmental damage by giving birth to a special needs child. She would have had access to a monthly check for the rest of the child's life to cover their care and needs, which I doubt she would use for that. Update 8. Oh boy, here we go again. A small footnote because the PMs are driving me nuts. My sisters are not really called Karen and Mary. I used fake names for everyone, including my daughter and my stalker, to respect privacy. So Lily is a fake name, as is Ken. No, I really don't plan to share anyone's real name. To the actual story, I got called into a video conference today because I had broken the company's social behavior policies. The rundown on those is basically that we're not allowed to post inappropriate content on social media, and we are to behave in a way that represents the company respectfully and properly. I am corporate, so it is very strict for me. Some of these policies require straight firing if they are broken. Obviously, I was terrified, up until my boss described the situation. Apparently someone created an OnlyFans under my name. No, I am not giving it out. Don't even ask, please. It was very. Saying inappropriate isn't enough. Straight up, really bad PRN based on the thumbnails, which I hope a round of heavy alcohol will help me forever forget. First of all, I don't have nearly enough confidence for OnlyFans. I don't even have the courage to go to the website. Not my thing. Second, I just had to laugh when HR pulled the page with my name on it and a picture of Karen. I just stared at them and asked if they saw the issue. They tried to paint it as well. It still reflects poorly on the company. I'll cut the amount of BS that went back and forth until the boss basically said this was stupid, and to just let it be since it's obvious the person in the OnlyFans is not me. The only thing Karen and I have in common is our nose and eye color. I am ignoring the whole thing, though I low-key sent it to our eldest brother, who already told me he's going to take care of it. Knowing him, Karen might end up in a convent, or somewhere with no internet. There's a lot of towns in our home country like that. I'm pretty sure this was an attempt to get me fired, or maybe have my partner leave me. It could even be a prelude to reporting me to CPS to get my daughter taken from me. I already informed them of the situation, and our caseworker actually laughed at the sheer stupidity. So yeah, it seems this is going to be my new normal, until Karen finds a new target. In any case, I just wanted to say thanks to people who offered support to myself and my little Sith. Lily is doing great in her new school, and has already found an apprentice as friend for all Star Wars related shenanigans. She also discovered a new fascination with Avatar, so now she wants to learn martial arts. Mary and her wife are doing well too. They are actually considering adoption in the not necessarily near future. Right now, they enjoy spoiling Lily. Update 9. Since apparently it's been 1 year since this mess started, and I have a few PMs asking for it, I figure I should at least update on things. The good news is that my family, partner, and daughter are okay. We're settled in our new home and working through things. As for dear Karen, my horrid half-sister, and this is a fake name for her, well, I actually saw her. Not on purpose, mind you. About a month ago, I went to my home country to tie up some loose ends, closing bank accounts and preparing a property for sale. I took my adoptive daughter so she could see her birth family and left her with them for the week we were staying. While I was in the hotel, since as much as I love my relatives, I really feel uncomfortable staying in someone else's house, I got called to the lobby. Apparently, someone claiming to be my relative was there. I told them I wasn't expecting any visits, but they insisted I came down because apparently the person refused to leave otherwise. Thinking it could be an emergency, and I do have relatives that don't have cell phones, I decided to go see what was going on. Who happened to be, but dear old Karen. She looked fine, nothing out of the world, so I figured she probably got a job of some sorts and was doing okay. The moment she saw me, she tried to get close to me for a hug, but I took a step back and asked her to leave. Immediately, she began screaming that I had to give her money. Her life was all a mess, and her baby was dead because I refused to take them in. The hotel staff tried getting her out, and even threatened me with canceling my reservation. But I reminded them they called me, and I wanted nothing to do with this person. Karen began saying she would stalk outside the hotel until I either gave her $10,000 or a property I had begun to prepare for sale. I asked the police to please not let her anywhere near my room. Eventually, they got her to leave the lobby, but she did stay near the entrance. Even after multiple police calls, the best they did was let her be on the opposite end of the street. So after discussing the situation with the manager, they kindly set me up in a different hotel from the same branch in another area. Personally, this worked for me since I love that area, and I could really just relax for the remaining days. My daughter actually joined me the last 2 days with her birth mom, and we had a Moms and Daughters Day. From what my relatives told me, Karen is working in a club as a hostess. Not that kind of club, just a normal tourist trap. She's doing fine enough to rent a place, but no real luxuries or the lifestyle she was used to when all she had to do was call me, and I would buy her whatever she wanted out of guilt for having money. Last I heard, my half-sister has been going around claiming the old property I'm selling is hers and trying to find the paperwork for it in my relative's house. I'm not so dumb to leave it there though. In case she reads this, I won't say where they are, but they are completely out of her reach. Update 10. Oh boy, where to start? To be frank, I haven't really been paying too much attention to Reddit, so my apologies for a lot of replies I've missed. I have actually been postponing this for a bit out of respect. As you all know, my eldest sister has been the bane of my existence for the last few years. And I have to admit, a small part of me always toyed with the idea that if she were just gone, my life would be easier. Well, ask, and you will be given it, whether you want it or not. With her passing, I don't feel uncomfortable sharing her first name. Karen, as I called her in stories, was actually named Letitia. Letty was a mess, to say the least, but I do have a lot of fond memories of when we were kids. I'm going to try to keep things on the right side of petty, since even with her passing, I still have a lot of salt. On May 20, 2023, Mary and I decided to check on things. Find out if she was okay, if there was any mess we should clean up, or any of the many things we could think she would be up to. We ended up finding out she had passed away in April. It is related to the damage she caused to her body during her pregnancy. I won't share details, so I ask anyone with morbid curiosity not to ask, even in private messages. Obviously, we went straight to our home country to check on the situation and make sure she had been given a proper burial. She was still in a morgue, so we paid the fees needed and prepared her funeral. A lot of family refused to come, including Letty's mother, so we didn't do anything big. A simple online service for anyone who wanted to attend an anonymous and quick burial. After that was done, we set out to get her affairs in order. That's when we found she left over $25,000 in bills for Mary and me to pay. Unlike the US, where debts are passed to the closest relatives regardless of the debtor's death, in this case, it would be Letty's mother, but we decided to take it over. That's not counting her funeral costs, the fines with the morgue, and other miscellaneous expenses. The peak of pettiness came when we were taking out her stuff from the place she rented. We found a lot of missing items. From toys from our childhood to jewelry, even my graduation dress. She was selling all of them online. A lot of these items were in storage, so she had somehow made a copy of the storage key. I don't celebrate her death. Nor do I feel sad, to be honest. I just feel exhausted. I always wanted to be close with my siblings. Unfortunately, I'm realizing that for her, I was just an easy mark. I felt guilty. I had a lot growing up, while my sisters were excluded because they were born out of wedlock. It wasn't their fault, and I'm also realizing it wasn't my fault. Over the last few years, I really appreciated how some people made me laugh here, and I absolutely had a blast sharing how entitled my family is. This isn't really how I wanted my sister's story to end, for all she was. I rather thought she was still causing issues. At the same time, there's a little bit of peace knowing I can visit my family and community without feeling like a target. I know the mourning and sadness will eventually come. She was my sister after all, so I'm writing this before grief makes me less bitter. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.